Hello everyone. If you are new to my channel, then consider liking and subscribing. It will make me feel wonderful if you do it, thanks. By the way, I also have a Luffy fan fiction channel. If you are interested, the link is in the description.
For A Roll of the Dice by Kurasabe. Little Naru didn't know where the weird floating box shape came from, and can honestly say she doesn't give a shit. Together with Anko and the Kachan voice in her head, the little blonde will become the strongest ninja and go on many serious and awe-inspiring adventures. At least, if that Wild Nations perk doesn't get to them first, to turn things crazy. Adios.
8-year-old Uzumaki Naru had no idea what was going on. She unlocked her chakra thanks to the instructions of the voice in her head, though she prefers to be called mother for some reason, and everything went black for a moment. Now she doesn't know exactly what happens to others when they manage to get their chakra unlocked, but they probably don't get floating blue boxes with messages in them. Would you like to enable tutorial messages? Yes? No? Ka-chan, what's a tutorial? Little Naru asks the ever-dependent source of knowledge inside of her, her scarlet eyes staring cautiously at the floating box in front of her. Where her two siblings got whisker marks due to the Kyuubi's chakra having an influence on them in the womb, Naru got her badass red eyes that made her glares and stares a lot more intimidating. Which is a lot better than having a bunch of sensitive lines on your face if you ask her. Foo, a tutorial helps you by teaching you all you need to know about certain subjects. So if you press yes, those boxes will explain a lot about your chakra and other important things. The motherly voice explains to Naru in an amused tone. The little girl lets out a silent, ah, and presses the yes button, not even wondering how she can touch the floating light thingy in front of her. The box disappears and suddenly gets replaced with a bigger one, this one having only a few words and some numbers on them. Uzumaki, Yasha, Naruko LV. 1 HP 100 100s chakra, 600 600s. XP 0 200 strength, 2 plus perception, 6 plus endurance, 7 plus. Charisma, 3 plus intelligence, 4 plus agility, 8 plus luck, 5 plus. Remaining points, 10, and once again our little protagonist was stupefied. She had no idea as to what almost all of those words meant. Weren't there supposed to be more of those funny boxes to explain what was going on? Just as Naru was about to start ranting about how this was probably a joke, another box appears. A yellow one. She notices with a lot of words in them. After some gentle prodding from the mother voice, she starts reading, grumbling about there being too much words. Welcome to your stats page. Right now it's a bit bare and there's not a lot of interesting things on it, but don't worry, the more you discover and do, the more filled this page will get. But we will get to that when you unlock the other segments. For now we will talk about what makes you, well, you. Each one of these 7 attributes will play a major part in what skills will be available for you to learn. We could go on and on about each attribute and what it can do, but instead we will give you this nifty little rhyme that shall teach you everything you need to know to become your personal brand of special. S is for strength, and that means I am strong. I can carry lots of toys and swing stuff all day long. P is for perception, a long funny word. It means what I tasted, smell, saw and heard. E is for endurance, and that's how long I can play. I'm always really healthy and have energy all day. C is for charisma. It's why people think I'm great. I make my friends all laugh and smile, and never want to hate. I is for intelligence. It means I'm really smart. I use my brain for lots of stuff, like science, math and art. A is for agility. That's how I get around. I move real fast and easy, and I never make a sound. L is for luck, and it's simple. You see, it means that good things always happen to me. Your stats can be increased in 2 ways, by investing stat points in them that you earn throughout the game, or through old-fashioned exercise. Be careful though, as the more points you get through training, the harder you have to train to get the next point. A basic rule for gaining stat points each level is int 20, with a basic amount of getting 1 point each level. Now that she could understand, Naru giggles to herself as she starts thinking. So each stat makes her either faster, stronger, smarter, etc. Hey, she just used a big word, and they help her decide in what she could do. And she has 10 more points to make those stats even better. But where should she put them? If she put them in strength, then she can punch Kiba way harder when he annoys her again. But if she puts her points in intelligence, then she could get smarter than that know-it-all Sakura. Decisions. I'd put at least a few in strength if I were you. That makes sense, but how much should she put in there? Put 3 in it, that would bring it up to average, and you would be able to punch that Kiba boy harder. Naru was not going to argue with that, so 3 points in strength it is. There are still 7 left though. What else could she need? Bring perception up to 10 points. That way it will be harder for people to sneak up on you. Something tells me you're gonna need it. True, it would be harder to sneak up on her if she knows what's going on around her. Only 3 points left now, and she'll put them in intelligence. She doesn't want to end up as stupid as some of those annoying kids in her class. The idiots are the ones who get themselves killed first usually. Not a bad choice, shorty. I'm not short, you stupid old ha. Naru shouts while whirling around in self-proclaimed righteous fury, only to stop confused as she finally notices the person behind her. She has purple hair tied in a spiky ponytail and brown eyes without pupils. Her attire of a short skirt, fishnet shirt and open trench coat do nothing to hide her curvaceous figure. Though what annoys Naru the most is the cheeky grin on the woman's face. Now, if she would know about Mitarashi Anko's reputation, she might have picked her next words more carefully, but most likely not. Who are you and why are you reading my mind? Naru questions Anko with quite an impressive glare for someone her age. Still, she only looks adorable to the second best interrogator at the T&I department. Only suicidal idiots claim they're better than Morino Ibiki. I didn't read your mind, brat. You were talking to yourself about how you were going to put those two other little punks in their place. Though Anko had to admit being able to read minds would make her job a lot easier. Why couldn't she have been born a Yamanaka? Meanwhile, Naru didn't quite believe the weird lady and decided to ask a more trustworthy source. Ka-chan, was I thinking out loud the entire time again? The girl asks, silently this time, her mommy. All she receives is a feeling of amusement and a gentle prodding against her head, as if something were poking it. You're Naru-chan. Didn't I tell you to be more careful while thinking? You're lucky your motor mouth didn't bring you in trouble this time. The voice gently admonishes her, mirth obviously laced in her voice. Naru simply shrugs and presses the OK button, her status screen now updating with the new numbers. Uzumaki, Yasha, Naruko LV. 1 HP 100 100s chakra. 750 750ths. XP. 0 200 strength. 5 perception. 10 endurance. 7. Charisma. 3 intelligence. 7 agility. 8 luck. 5. Would you like to activate the Wild Nations perk? This will turn otherwise serious encounters into zany, wacky moments that will make you giggle with mirth. Not for those serious of heart. Warning. The choice you make now cannot be reverted. Yes. No, before either Anko or the Ka-chan voice could give the impulsive girl the advice to really think things through, she already rammed the yes button with gusto. She's seen how boring and stuffy the serious people are the entire time. She doesn't want her life to end up like that. While happily ignoring the size of both women, Naru suddenly sees a tab called perks next to the word stats in the upper corner. Seeing a yellow arrow flash at it, she presses it. The yellow box explained everything, so the yellow arrow should point to the next yellow box, right? And while Naru tried to wait patiently for the next tutorial message to pop up, she decided to read what perks she had. Perks Dark Girl. The shadows are your friend and you know it. Your natural affinity for stealth gives you a bonus of +3 agility and all skills involving sneakiness and trap maxed 150% speed. Rank 1 of 3. Flexible body. You may not be the strongest, but you sure are the one who can move and bend the easiest. Your agility increases at a speed of 250%. Your strength increases at a speed of 60% though. Lesser precognition. Trust your gut and it'll take care of you. You have the chance to predict when something bad happens or when powerful enemies are nearby due to your instincts. In battle you can slightly read the enemy's attack before it happens. You gain a bonus of +2 perception, rank 1 of 5. Transmigration. This is not your first life that you're living. Who knows what deeds you did when you were someone else? Random flashes of your previous life will be shown to you in dreams and who knows, you might learn something new. Uzumaki chakra. Your chakra reserves are increased by 500%. Your chakra is denser as well, decreasing jutsu cost with 10% and can be used in all kinds of unique ways. Skill level necessary to properly control C-rank jutsu and lower is increased by 300%. Uzumaki luck. You're the best at games, though whether it's through skill or luck nobody knows. When gambling your luck increases with 400% and sometimes you find treasure in the most random of places. Uzumaki vitality. You got one hell of a body and the stamina to match it. You get a +4 endurance and said stat increases at 200% speed. You also recover 30% faster. Wild Nations. I want to believe, with this perk your average daily life will be occasionally flipped on its head with all kinds of situations you wouldn't think of in your wildest dreams. Don't worry, you're not responsible for the others who get caught up in it. Naru couldn't help but childishly pump her fist when the words, not responsible, were read, not bothered by the fact that Anko is still reading along over her shoulder. Pupil A's eyes narrowed at a certain word. Transmigration, huh? Maybe I should ask Ibiki or Inoichi about it when I see them next time. And while Anko was contemplating the possible insanity of the quirky girl before her, said girl was now reading up on those perks. Perks are extra skills and options that will make you more badass when applied. While you already get a few perks due to who you are and what you are good at, more perks can be unlocked through certain situations or even through completely random events. Although there are a few like the Wild Nations perk that are completely optional and may or may not influence your experience either way. Naru had to think hard for a while, not really getting it, at least until her brain made a more simple equation out of it. More perks equals more awesomeness, yes. Naru could definitely live with that, she thought as she nodded her head sagely. Now that she has most explanations over with, it's time to start training to become a kick-ass ninja. Anko, seeing determined flames appearing in the little squirt's head, decided to have a bit of fun. So Squirt, now that you have your chakra unlocked, what are you going to do? The older female asks. I'm gonna train, of course, you crazy stalker, the little girl bluntly states, not noticing the twitch in Anko's eyes as she contemplates whether the Ka-chan voice will keep helping her with her training. She doesn't really like that Naru is training to be a ninja after all. Of course I'll help Naru-chan. I'll make you strong enough so that you can always get back home safely. Naru simply let a smile slip on her face. If Ka-chan is there to guide her, everything will be fine. So how are you going to train, you shitty brat? Anko asks with a deceptively sweet voice and an equally sweet smile. At this, Naru paused. Out of touch with the world she may slightly be, but even she knows that by answering, the Ka-chan in my head will help me, they'll lock her up and take Ka-chan away from her, so she'll settle on the second best thing. 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups and 100 squats along with running 10 kilometers every single day. She says with a proud look on her face, chest and arms both puffed and poised in a heroic pose, sparkles surrounding her upper body. Now there are a lot of people who can quite impressively keep a straight face in most of the situations. One can even say it's needed when working in the T&I department. That said, seeing an 8-year-old say the most moronic things while sparkling on proudly is probably a breaking point most won't even encounter in their mundane lives. Anko, though, found out that a situation such as this is one of her breaking points, as shown by her manic rolling on the ground while laughing. Shut up, ya shitty stalker hag. If it works for Saitama, then it'll work for me as well. Obviously that just kept the stalker the lovely Mitarashi Anko, SXY queen of all dango, going with even harder laughter. After the Tokubetsu Jonin calmed herself down, she looked at the now sulking girl. Taking a bit of pity on the little squirt, Anko decided to do her possible nice-ish deed of the week. You know, brat, if you want I can help you out with your training when I'm not too busy. We can even start right now. She tags on the second part when the little blonde obviously looks interested at her. Said little blonde looks at the older purplinette with stars in her eyes, for all intent looking like a happy red-eyed puppy. It almost makes her think she should feel guilty at the next part. What are we gonna do for training Inigo? Naru asks Anko excitedly. Finally she'll get to train as a ninja, just like Mito and Hiruzen. Lost in her daydreams about kicking both of their asses and being hailed as the most awesome ninja ever seen in Konoha. She doesn't want to be Hokage anymore after seeing daddy getting stuck in an avalanche of paperwork. Our little ninja in training didn't notice the hand signs Anko made after bloodying her thumb. The cloud smoke erupting from the woman's technique soon blew away by a sudden gale that disappeared when the smoke was gone as well. Beside Anko stood now a huge snake, at least 20 feet long and 3 feet wide. Now seeing as how awesome I am at teaching, I found a way to incorporate two important aspects of ninja training together, namely dodging and physical training. So we're gonna play dodge the snake, the woman said gleefully, as the snake lunged at the girl. Not as fast as he possibly could, of course. The little hatchling still needs to grow before they can actually start playing for real. Though Naru didn't know that and started running as fast as she could, barely dodging most of the lunges and strikes. That day, Konohagakure heard for the first time one of the two shouts that would soon become commonplace to hear. Damn you WOMAAAANNN, fancy interval wanted for this position, will pay in virtual chocolate chip cookies. A gruesome 38 minutes and 23 seconds later, as timed by one of the nifty blue boxes, a very tired Naru lays down on the ground, panting as the adrenaline of being chased by a giant snake is wearing off. The woman that brought forth said snake was mildly impressed at how long one of her favorite summons was outrun by a brat without training, even if he held back a lot. The summon, Magoo, looked at the tiny hatchling that had some potential and decided that it could use some water. Grabbing one of its soft, squishy legs with his tail, Mutsu brought said now squirming little one to a nearby river, shooting reprimanding looks each time it squirmed too hard in his opinion. It seemed the fresh water source, the little hatchling looked sheepishly at the large body of water and back at Mutsu. Oh, thanks for bringing me here. How did you know I could use a drink? Magoo couldn't help but raise the scales that passed as an eyebrow. A human hatchling with actual manners. The snake summons don't meet one of those a lot. Mostly because almost every hatchling either screams or begs for their life the moment they meet someone of the Hubby-Sum clan. Oh woe be to those who are scarily strong. You are welcome, little hatchling. With the amount of fluids that you seem to be losing from your tiny body, I thought it prudent that you should replace those quickly if you weiny. Mutsu hissed at the young and now slippery hatchling. Naru looked at the huge snake in awe. That's so cool, you can speak, come to think of it, what do we call the language we all speak? The little blonde pondered before shrugging and dunking her head into the river, eagerly gulping in the water while enjoying the cold anchoring into her face. Pulling back up and shaking her shoulder-length blonde hair dry like a dog, she notices Magoo and Anko looking at her with matching predatory gleams in their eyes. "Congratulations, Squirt, we've decided that we're going to take you under our wing and train you," the crazy woman from hell says cheerily. Naru wants to say something mean or tell them to buzz off, but both actually took time to help her out in their own way. But should she accept? While pondering the answer to that, her attention got pulled towards a blinking green square in the upper right corner of her vision. Mentally wondering what it is, it springs open with an accompanying yellow box. This is the notices page, where all kinds of important information will be collected for you in messages. To open it, just either say the name of the page out loud or think about making it appear. Nodding in understanding, Naru makes the little yellow box disappear and decides to check her messages first, still thinking about what she should pick. Seeing the conflicted and almost wary look on the girl's face, Anko's own look softens up and she decides to sit next to the girl, throwing an arm around her tiny companion's shoulder. "You don't have to decide right now, Squirt, but you gotta admit we did have some fun, didn't we?" she asks with a smirk. Having little Naru run towards her and use her as a shield for Magoo may have been obvious for the Tokubetsu Jonin, but most gloating idiots wouldn't realize the redirecting maneuver until it's too late. That and she noticed Naru smiling every time she pulled off something acrobatic. To the older girl's surprise, little Naru just nods and visibly relaxes, taking obvious comfort in the arm around her. Seeing that she won't get anything more out of her possible little Padawan, Anko just decides to look at the messages. Taking the silent cue for what it is, Naru opens the first of 4 messages. Challenge completed. Dodge the snake, easy difficulty, silver rank. Bronze. Dodge a snake summon for 15 minutes, achieved. Silver. Dodge a snake summon for 30 minutes, achieved. Gold. Dodge a snake summon for 60 minutes rewards. Bronze rank achieved. 300 Express, 10.000 Ryo. Silver rank achieved. 500 Express, 20.000 Ryo. Money and items will directly be added to your inventory. Looking happily at the Express and gained money, little Naru decides to check her inventory later when she's by herself and through all of the other messages. Closing it and opening the second one, both girls start grinning for different reasons. The following stats have increased during your exercise. Endurance. +6, equals 13, agility. +7, equals 15, intelligence. +2, equals 9. Now why are both girls grinning, you ask? Well, Naru is happy because she actually improved from being hunted like prey by a big-ass snake, and Anko knows that she now has the perfect way to motivate her student. Not aware of the other's thoughts, the third message pops open after the second one is dismissed as well. Level up, you have reached level 315 Express, 325 350ths. Available stat points. 2. Looking strangely at her current level, Naru pushes the question mark again for what feels the 20th time that day and waits patiently for the new box to arrive. Levels are currently capped by your chosen class. Level caps can be raised by getting a higher rank in said chosen class, profession or other situations and allowed to grow even further. In this case the level caps for the ninja class are: Academy Student, 0 to 15 Genin, 15 to 40 Chunin, 40 to 80. Tokubetsu Jonin, 80 to 140 Jonin, 80 into infinity and beyond. So I can't level stupidly hard and curb stomp the others? Naru asked in a resigned tone, leaving Anko to wonder just where the hell an 8-year-old girl would learn words like that. Deciding it'd be better for her remaining sanity not to find out, the woman just pats the little one on her back. There, you'll still be able to wreck the little twerps if you train hard enough to raise your stats. Anko says awkwardly, not sure if it'll work. Though she must be doing something right if the sulking red-eyed girl looks up. And you'll help me? She asks in a soft tone, as if afraid of the answer. Anko just nods with a not quite manic as usual smile, causing Naru to grin excitedly and burying herself deeper into the older girl's awesome trench coat. With both now happy about their arrangements, Naru opens the last message for the both of them to read. Mitarashi Anko offers you an apprenticeship, do you accept? Yes. No. That brings the attention of both females back to the question Anko asked her before. And while Naru does want to accept and keep training with her newly christened Inigo, the little blonde can't help but feel as if she would abandon her Ka-chan. She was the first person Naru asked to be trained by after all. You should accept it, Naru-chan. I can't really help you with training your body. Besides, you may learn all kinds of different things from Anko-san that I don't know him. Nodding to both herself and the motherly voice, Naru takes a deep breath and pushes yes. Though she did not expect to be pulled into a hug by her excitable new sensei. Giggling and returning the hug, Naru decides that she kind of likes the hugs Inigo gives her, pretty hard and a tad painful, but yet they carry a hint of caring. But the moment is broken when hopefully the last message of the day pops up. Congratulations! You have become the apprentice of Mitarashi Anko. Level cap increased by 6 levels, 1 of 2 apprentice positions filled. The two women stare blankly at the message until Anko breaks the silence. So, wanna go and get some food? Fancy interval wanted for this position, will pay in virtual chocolate chip cookies. As Anko led her new little duckling towards her favorite dango restaurant, she can't help but feel a slight pang of guilt shoot through her elation. Sure, the woman may be teaching the little blonde how to be a good ninja, and with how shitty the academy can be, little Naru will need it, but the idea from less than noble thoughts. It's not a big secret what happened to Anko thanks to her traitorous sensei, and to this day there are still a few people who treat her as if she's Orochimaru right-hand woman that happily helps him with whatever psychotic experiment the immortal craving snake bastard came up with. Hell, the best she can expect from most people is indifference born from disdain. So, when she finds a little girl glaring at a weird screen made of light and not knowing who she was, the woman couldn't help but pound on the chance of finally getting some decent company if she was lucky. The idea may have been brought forth from loneliness and the need of having friends who won't associate her with Orochimaru and what he did to her, but in the end both profit from it. Little Naru will have a teacher that'll turn her into a bona fide badass. And as for Anko, well, maybe now her loneliness will be chased away even if only for a little while. It was already nearing 8 when Naru finally got home, the sun starting to set as she opened the gates to the namikaze residence. While the plan was to just get some dango and sending the little blonde back home in time for dinner, those plans got waylaid when Anko's friends found them at the dango shop with Anko trying to teach Naru how to spit the little sticks hard enough for it to anchor themselves into the wooden support beams of the shop. After about 20 minutes of convincing them that Naru wasn't kidnapped by her new teacher, the 3 women finally decide to introduce themselves to the very impressionable and lonely-looking girl that hopefully won't become a mini Anko. Still, Naru learned a lot about life as a kunoichi and the kinds of things she could branch out in when she graduated from the academy. What was supposed to be a quick snack to hatch out a decent training plan turned into dinner and storytime about what Naru could expect in the academy and beyond. Though all thoughts flew out of her head when she saw an angry Uzumaki Kushina waiting for her at the table together with the Hokage, namikaze Minato. Uzumaki Naru, where were you all day? Kushina asks in what she believes is righteous parental anger and worry. Training Field 8. Naru responds calmly and even disappointed. Minato thinks it's strange to himself but doesn't say anything, until he remembered what Kushina promised Naru last week. And why were you at a training field for ninja? You haven't even unlocked your chakra. Much less even started training, Kushina shouts fiercely. What if something happened to her eldest daughter there and she wasn't there to help? You promised we'd go there together today so that I could start training too. You even told me to go ahead and that you would be there soon. Naru responds in subdued tone, drawn into her shell thanks to her biological mother yelling at her. Kushina's face quickly goes from her anger to shock, and from there it morphs into that panic look you have when you realize that the court hearing that would decide your fate started about 2 hours ago. And you're still in bed. While Kushina tried to comprehend the fact that she forgot the fact that one of her kids was waiting for her in the training grounds while she was training Mito and Hiruzen in the backyard, Naru already went up the stairs into her room. When she closed the door behind her, she let out a sigh and opened the window so she could climb on top of the roof. For some reason, being alone in a high place always soothed little Naru. So this is where you are. Naru hears a familiar voice besides her as she is handed a cup of tea. Flashing her father a grateful smile, she leans into his side and watches the sunset while taking sips from the kocha tea. Minato just smiles, already familiar with some of her daughter's quirks and habits. Besides, it would be a terrible shame to be distracted from such a beautiful scene. That, and the tea just burned his tongue, so talking's a tad more difficult. They stay in pleasant silence and watch some of the villagers go on their business as the day retreats to make way for the night when Naru finally asks a question that has been plaguing her mind for some time. Does Mom hate me? The little blonde asks the bigger blonde. Minato just sighs and pulls his eldest, and secretly also his favorite, daughter a bit closer with his free arm. She doesn't hate you, Naru. You know how she was the jinchuriki of the Kyuubi before your siblings, right? Feeling rather than seeing his little girl's nod, he continues. Well, it used to be that the identity of the jinchuriki was being kept secret in Konoha, because most people would confuse the jailer of the biju with the beasts themselves. That would lead to the jinchuriki being ostracized and sometimes even outright abused. This is why your mother's status as one was being kept secret. We managed to make people realize that those holding back the biju are heroes and not monsters, but people fear what they don't understand. That's why Kushina always seems to drop everything that she's doing to help the furry twins train. The moment they lose control, they'll go from heroes to possible dangers and maybe even monsters in the public's eyes. Naru couldn't help but snicker at the term both she and Minato coined her siblings with in private. God only knows what Kushina would do to them when she finally finds out. But still, Naru can understand why her mother does her best to keep Mito and Hiruzen safe, but that doesn't mean it doesn't hurt any less. Naru mumbles the last part out loud. Minato just lets out a resigned sigh and ruffles his little girl's hair. I know, kiddo, but you're taking this surprisingly well. At the rate you're growing up, you'll probably bring home boys in a few years. Minato jokes around, having done this song and dance already a few times. Ew, boys are icky. Why would I bring them home? Naru whines and Minato just laughs. Content that his sometimes seemingly mature child can still act like her age. Besides, now he has more time to come up with more ways to scare off future suitors both his girls will come home with eventually. Note to self, give Ibiki a raise for his help, and maybe an award if possible. Minato makes a mental note, before turning back to his little sunshine. Fine, no icky boys in the house that don't live here. The yellow flash agrees while ruffling his daughter's hair. Naru tries to swat away his hand without avail, laughing and shrieking as both father and daughter start play wrestling on the rooftop. Ready to give up yet, sunshine? You know you can't beat the Hokage? Minato boasts while tickling Naru's sides. Never, I'll beat you with my awesome chakra attacks. Naru yells back, not really caring about the fact that she hasn't learned how to use her chakra yet. She knew it. Her dad knew it. That crystal ball old Hiruzen favored really helps Minato keeping track of Naru, but still he decided to play along. Do you now? Well then, why don't you show me? Minato asks amused, turning his back to the garden and standing on the edge of the rooftop. Naru just huffs, closes her eyes, focusing on the same feeling in her gut that she felt when she unlocked her chakra with Ka-chan's help. Finding that weird place in her tummy that isn't her tummy at all, she grabs the power and instead of just letting it out, she leads it to her arm and imagines it to turn into a ball that she can shoot. Meanwhile, Minato can only gape in surprise as Naru not only rises up to the challenge, but pretty much decides to crush his expectations. Opening her eyes with a grin, Naru grabs her stretched forearm for extra support and fires the ball of condensed chakra, the recoil making her fall on her rear. With a pretty girlish yelp, Minato quickly dodges the assailing ball that makes his danger senses go haywire. Turning around to see what happens, the two on the roof can feel their mouths fall open wide, gaping as the projectile explodes and leaves behind a crater that's a few feet in diameter. The Hokage looks back at his equally shocked daughter, whom is sweating lightly and panting heavily. They just stare at each other, not knowing what to do when a loud and angry voice makes itself known. What the hell was that? Tebane, you know, I just remember I have some urgent paperwork that needs to be done. Need some help, daddy? The only response Naru receives is being grabbed by the arm and disappearing with a yellow flash. Like hell they were sticking around while Mount Kushina erupted. Fancy interval wanted for this position, will pay in virtual chocolate chip cookies. You thought I was joking last chapter, didn't you? Right after Naru left for home, Dango stand, so, you got yourself an apprentice? Yuahi Kuranai asked in an even and neutral voice that completely clashed with her smoldering glare. Anko just chuckled nervously while rubbing the back of her neck, trying to discreetly request backup through eye contact with her two other friends, Inuzuka Hana and Azuki Yugao. Hana Zhu in the universal sign of, leave me the fuck out of this, while Yugao just smirked and sipped at her tea, planning to enjoy the free show. Well, it's not yet completely official, what with the paperwork I need to file, but yeah I'm gonna train the squirt? Anko more asks than states, feeling like a scolded schoolgirl underneath the genjutsu mistress' gaze. And judging from the whimpers and whining from Hana's ninkin, it seems she's not the only one. No, you're not, Kuranai said while closing her eyes, so that she wouldn't have to see the look of betrayal on Anko's face, however brief it may be. Not by yourself at least, Kuranai said the second statement with a weary sigh. The things she does for her crazy friend. Still, she was planning to become a Junin sensei once she passes the exams, so this might as well be considered a decent exercise. Besides, how hard is training one girl compared to training 3 genin without a second ninja? Come again, please? Hana asks with wide eyes, also having expected a lecture on why it was a bad idea to hand Anko impressionable kids. Sure, the little blonde kid seemed pretty unhurt as far as post-training looks go and basically glowed with the attention Anko gave her, but still, it's Mitarashi Anko, the crazy snake bitch and second feared interrogator in the T&I. Kuranai's right, Anko. It might be pretty harsh to say, but you don't have any experience in training kids, so it might be prudent to have someone with you who has. Besides, what are you going to do if the kid has talent and something you suck at? Yugao jumps to Kuranai's defense with logical arguments. While Anko visibly deflates, there is still a hint of teasing in her brown eyes. So what you bitches are saying is you're totally jealous that a little girl likes me more than you three? Wheel, if you guys really have to butt and I'll let you, if only to prove she likes her inigo more. Anko boasts grandly, obviously liking her new title. Yugao and Kuranai just roll their eyes, willing to let it slide if it means to minimize the risk of Anko permanently maiming, traumatizing the kid. Actually, I think they're more concerned about you accidentally offing one of the Hokage's kids, Hana says in her clan's typical bluntness. Wait, she's what now? Fancy interval wanted for this position, will pay in virtual chocolate chip cookies. This is actually an ad until we find a decent interval. Meanwhile, back in the Hokage's office in the same yellow flash that heralded their departure, Minato and Naru appear in the Hokage's office, the usual anbu guard stationed in the room already gone. Well, they and pretty much everybody else except for the ones guarding the important vault with all the forbidden thingies. Easily shrugging off the split-second nausea, Minato looks down at his daughter, checking her over to make sure there aren't any adverse effects from traveling with the Hiraishin. Daddy, is my arm supposed to shake so much? Naru asked curiously. Her right hand still holding her tea while her left one is shaking uncontrollably, the small appendage racked with tremors. Minato's eyes widen in panic, the words of that fateful encounter on October 10th racing through his mind. While he is having a flashback about the fateful events that transpired that night, his body reacts automatically, slinging Naru over his shoulder and speeding towards the hospital. His daughter somehow doesn't spill her tea as she keeps sipping it quite happily, even waving at some of the patrolling anbu as they pass them. When they finally arrived at the Konoha hospital, the one for ninjas, not to be confused with Konoha Civilian Hospital, or the Konoha T&I private clinic for unfortunate accidents, Minato simply shunshined into Tsunade's office, the woman frantically hiding her booze while hoping that it isn't Shizune coming over for a surprise inspection. Taking a deep breath to start shouting at the quit idiotic looking and acting Hokage, the elder medic is stopped by a happy blonde still riding her daddy's shoulder. Hi Ba-chan, did something awesome with my chakra but my arm won't stop shaking and daddy is freaking out now. The chipper girl says with a smile, putting the now empty cup of tea down on Tsunade's desk. Ignoring the two blondes that are both not really there due to different circumstances, the best medic in town grabs the young girl by the scruff of her shirt and drops her on her desk. Hands already glowing green with a diagnostic jutsu. Raising an eyebrow as the results returned, Tsunade decided to just get on with it, treating the situation like ripping of a band-aid. What did you do with your chakra, Naru? She asks resigned. Guided it to my hand and turned into an awesome exploding ball. I see, and how much did you put into it? Lots of it. It turned into a crater about this big. The little girl replies while stretching her arms as wide as possible, obviously proud of her newfound power to blow things up. Shaking her head once again, Tsunade turns back to Minato in the hope that he will be giving more concrete answers. Interpreting the rude gesture as the dismissal it is, Naru finally notices the little notice sign blinking in the upper right corner of her vision. With absent-minded wave of her hand she materializes the notice board in front of her and opens the first of two messages there are. New skill quest. Chakra Blast. Congratulations on discovering your very first technique. Sadly enough you still lack the control required to properly use it, so the skill is locked away until you have the proper chakra control necessary for it. The skill will be unlocked once your chakra control skill reaches 100. Objective. Chakra control skill reaches 100. Reward. Skill, Chakra Blast. Would you like to track this quest? Yes. No fuming at the audacity. Big word number 2 for the day. Of the little light boxes at sealing away her new awesome move, Naru growls while thinking about how to see how far she is. Skill screen. Naru says annoyed, the correct screen popping up due to her surprise. So she just has to say the name of the boxes she wants to see? That's pretty neat. No, attention back to the heretic boxes who seal away her awesomeness. Skill menu. Physical skills. Stealth, 0/1000 taijutsu, 0/1000. Trap making, 0/1000 chakra skills. Chakra blast. Locked, requirements not met, rank, D, S. Chakra control. -10/1000, current rank, E, other skills. Precognition. 28/1000, current rank. Lesser, huffing once more at having the horrible truth confirmed about her new and mind-blowing skill locked away until she knows how to control her chakra better. Hush little one, I know all kinds of tricks and exercises to make controlling chakra much easier. You'll be able to blow up your daddy in no time. The Ka-chan voice says gently, understanding the frustration at having something you worked hard for taken away. Naru visibly calms down in front of the baffled two adults who have no idea anymore what the flying fuck is going on. Coughing loudly to catch his daughter's attention, Minato decides to address the metaphorical Akamichi in the room. Naru, what are those screens around you? One long explanation later the author is in no way gonna type. I see, so the screens more or less work as the video game menus in an RPG. Minato says while observing some of the floating screens, ignoring Tsunade's incredulous stare. You used to play video games? The slug Sanin asks, trying to picture the Hokage staring at a screen at 3 AM while furiously mashing buttons, heaps of forgotten paperwork around him. Well, yes. I mean, the academy curriculum was ridiculously easy for me, and seeing as I had a lot of time and not a lot of friends as an orphan, I kinda started playing because I had nothing better to do. Minato admits with a shrug. Like hell he was gonna admit that his 8-year-old self only thought of them as simulators for his future awesome ninja adventures. He may have been a genius prodigy and still is according, but even he was a snot-nosed brat, once. Well, that Hikaku in RTS games always was a treat, even if he lost, a lot, quite embarrassingly. There's a good reason the tactical genius is the commander of the regular shinobi forces. Still, they did get horribly off track here, didn't they? Breaking out of his reminiscent haze, the Hokage turns his attention back to Tsunade in the hopes of hearing the diagnostic verdict. "So, will my daughter's arm be alright?" Minato asks, trying to hide the tension in his voice. Both he and Naru let out a relieved sigh at Tsunade's nod. Yes, the reason her arm was shaking so much was due to the fact that the large amount of chakra forced throughout her network caused minor tears into it, while the concentrated chakra escaped through it and saturated the— "Are you even listening, you brat?" Tsunade yells angrily at seeing Naru's blank face and glassed-over eyes gazing at her. "Sorry, it's just that you started saying way too much stuff that sounds complicated. Can you try saying it in like 20 words or less?" the arrogant little girl asks while cleaning her ear out with her pinky. The Sannin takes a deep breath, trying to keep in mind it's only an overly presumptuous 8-year-old girl and not one of her colleagues or the usual adults she works with. "You used too much chakra and damaged your chakra network, causing your arm to shake so much. I fixed it. But to be on the safe side, don't use chakra until tomorrow morning," Tsunade says with an overly sweet smile and a huge tick mark on her forehead. Maybe she'd get through this without strangling the goddaughter that obviously inherited the oh-so-feared and hated Uzumaki insanity. Those were 33 words, Ba-chan. Fuck it, she has 2 spare godchildren anyways. Fancy interval wanted for this position, we'll pay in virtual chocolate chip cookies. And we will keep going until we find one. After Hiri shining the fuck out of there in order to escape the second powerful woman Naru pissed off this evening, Minato took her daughter back home so she could go to bed. And if both were being really quiet to avoid kushina, then they were quiet about it as well. Finally in bed and happy with awesome day she had. Closing her eyes, she let out a final sigh before souping to Morpheus, only to feel an annoying breeze on her face. Scrunching her nose, the girl sits up sleepily, rubbing her eye tiredly as her mind slowly starts to realize there are a lot of things wrong here. When her eyes finally open up fully, Naru gapes in awe at the landscape in front of her. From the top of the hill she is sitting, she can see a literal sea of grass that reaches her waist, spreading itself as far as the eye can see, with forests and even a mountain in the distance. Looking down at her feet, she can see some really pretty flowers in all kinds of colors, and they even smell great. While her infantile mind is still trying to catch up that she isn't in bed anymore, her mouth decides to take over. "I don't think we're in Hai no Kuni anymore, Taunton. Ufufu, we aren't Naru-chan." Naru can hear a familiar voice talk to her. But instead from inside of her it's now all around her. "Ka-chan, where are we?" the little blonde asks curiously at the voice not really inside of her head anymore. "Just go to the cottage to the right of you, right next to the river. I'll explain everything there." Letting out a, "Huh?" Naru looks to her right, and indeed there is a river and a house in the distance. With a shrug the girl starts walking while enjoying the weather and the lovely walk through the meadow, curtsying politely with a giggle when she passes a few bunnies. The little fluffballs respond with a polite nod and both go on their way, Naru now happily skipping towards the cottage, humming a happy tune she heard somewhere while following her Ka-chan's directions. When she finally arrives to the quaint cottage, the curious girl doesn't really pay any attention to it, the woman in front of it being more interesting. "Welcome, Naru-chan, how do you like your mindscape?" The woman who just talked is smiling at the confused little girl. The regal-looking lady has a sort of ethereal beauty about her, one that is further enhanced by her snow-white hair and pupilless purple eyes. Her shapely figure hugged by a very expensive-looking white kimono don't really help toning it down either. But what really made the woman give her otherworldly look are the 2 horn-like protrusions in the shape of rabbit ears. This woman is no one else than Kaguya Otsutsuki, the rabbit goddess and current tenant in Uzumaki, Yasha, Naru's mindscape. Though for now little Naru didn't know about any of that and responded to the woman she now finally recognizes as her Ka-chan in the blunt, unintended insulting way only adorable kids get away with. "Hey, Ka-chan is a bunny girl. Long ago at the dawn of the age of chakra there was a formidable woman. She was known by many names that were forgotten through history, and her deeds were even greater than the oh-so-revered uchiha Madara and senju hashirama. In other words, she was an all-powerful ass-kicking bitch that was hailed as a goddess, and for damn good reasons too. So is it any wonder that Kaguya Otsutsuki, rabbit goddess and former ruler of the world, didn't have a damn clue as to how to react to being called a bunny girl? "Oh, what now?" the baffled woman asks her little protege and adopted daughter. Said little girl just nods as she points at the horn-like protrusions that erected themselves from Kaguya's head. "You got bunny ears on your head, so that makes you a bunny girl," little Naru explains as if it's the most obvious thing in the world. Though to the girl's surprise, Kaguya just starts laughing while clutching her sides. And to think she thought that Naru compared her to those harlots working in seedy bars in their skimpy costumes. And just when she thought it couldn't get any better, the little blonde opens her mouth and utters 4 little words. "I don't get it." That short sentence only served to make the rabbit goddess laugh even harder, making Naru pout while waiting until Kaguya calmed down. Once she did, however, Kaguya focused her attention on the small blonde in front of her. "Now then, Naru-chan, do you know why I brought you here?" the white-haired goddess asks in a kind tone. That single question made our petite heroine stop pouting and actually think for a moment. Why did you bring me inside of my head, Ka-chan, and why are you here anyways? Naru asks curiously, not realizing how utterly crazy it would sound if she ever tries to explain her current situation. HMPH, as if she'll ever share her Ka-chan with anybody. Kaguya just sighs in that fond way parents sometimes do and slips her hand into her adopted daughter's, guiding the now bouncing girl. She could finally touch and hug her mother. To the patio at the back. Seating herself comfortably on a strewn pillow, the mature woman wasn't prepared for the little girl plopping herself into her lap and snuggling against her rather generous chest. Ka-chan is so soft and warm, Naru mutters happily, closing her eyes while waiting for Ka-chan to start her story. You remember I was the first to receive chakra by eating the fruits of the senju tree, yes? Kaguya asks gently, knowing how fickle the memories of little children can be. Hearing an affirmative noise coming out of Naru's mouth, Kaguya takes a deep breath and continues the story. I used my newfound powers to take over the elemental nations and ruled over the people as a benevolent queen, ushering in an era of peace. Yet it didn't last very long, for the humans sought my secrets in order to sat their greed and lust for power just so they could take my place and rule as a tyrant. The first few times I still held on to my faith that humans would realize that I only had the best intentions, but as the years passed I slipped further and further into darkness. Do you know why chakra is so dangerous, Naru? At that question, the little blonde looks up confused. Because of the giant jutsus that can destroy everything? She asks innocently. It is one of the more dangerous aspects, but no. The reason why chakras shouldn't have been given to humanity is because it warps the mind. You see, Naru-chan, the more innate an affinity you have towards chakra and the more of it is in your body, the harder the dominant traits of a person's personality will be amplified. Seeing the blank look on her daughter's face, Kaguya realized that she should dumb it down a bit. You've seen how weird some of the stronger ninjas act, right? Well, that is because just as how chakra can make you much stronger and faster, it also makes some parts of who you are much stronger, especially when you can use it easily. Letting out a silent, Naru suddenly manages to find a way to understand something her mind just couldn't lock away. So the weird green man screaming about youth is so extreme because chakra amplified his love for working out. The little girl asks carefully, trying to use the new word she learned properly. It's amplified, little one, and yes, that silly man is so active and loud because his chakra enhanced those already dominant traits of his persona. Kaguya admits, hoping silently that this youthfulness won't infect another human being. Oh well, back to the story. Now then, let's fast forward to about 30 years later into my reign. At that point I was already worn out and disillusioned thanks to the many attempts on my own life and those of my children. Still, I worked tirelessly to keep the peace, crushing revolts with extreme prejudice and brutal violence that got out of hand. In the end, my own son had to stop me when I tried to ensnare everyone in the world in a genjutsu that would show every single person their own perfect world. And I, drunk on the power that chakra gave me, turned into a giant 10-tailed beast in order to kill everyone not yet trapped in the genjutsu. After a long and hard fight, my son defeated me and split the jubi into the 9 biju that roamed the world until recently. The chakra that remained was sealed into the moon, alongside me, where I was held captive for a very long time. But if you were on the moon all this time, how did you get in my head then? Once again, our adorable little protagonist with too few points in int didn't realize just how crazy that sounded. Kaguya just huffed and prodded Naru's forehead gently with her index and middle finger. Hush, little one, I am getting there. Holding back the urge to coo at the simply adorable way her daughter huffs, Kaguya instead collects her thoughts and decides to head straight to the crux of the matters. But yes, I lost track of time as I was forced to watch humanity wage war with the chakra my naive son gifted them until 8 years ago on October 10th. When your father summoned the Shinigami in order to seal the Kyuubi away once again into your brother and sister, his soul should have been taken as payment. Instead, the ancient being cut me off of what little chakra I had left and sealed me inside of you for some strange reason. And ever since then I have been watching over you, little one. The rabbit goddess finishes her tale, looking lovingly at Naru as she fights a losing battle against sleep in her mother's arms. Sweet dreams, my darling daughter. Fancy interval wanted for this position, will pay in virtual chocolate chip cookies. We would also like to thank Mystic Spider for his line break, which will be used further in the chapter. Little Yasha sighed as she let another pebble skip on the river surface. Daddy never let her train with Zura Ni and Indra Ni for some silly reason. She got chakra as well, didn't she? So why wasn't she allowed to train? Surely it wouldn't be just because she was the youngest sibling. What you doing here, Yasha? Shouldn't ya be training with her dad and Dorky brothers? A familiar voice asks her from a bit away. Looking to her right, the white-haired girl can spot one of her big brothers at the tree lines with her crimson red eyes. Standing there with a smile, was a big tanuki made of sand whose head was above the tree line, the blue tribal markings partly hidden in the shadows of the forest. Shu Ni! The girl yells happily, running towards the behemoth without any fear. Shu just smirks as a tendril of sand shoots out of his shoulder as it grabs the tiny girl and places her safely right on top of his head. Why are ya out here, Yasha? I thought the old man said he'd be busy teaching da kids all day. The sentient sand construct asks, already having an inkling as to why his favorite little sibling is sitting out here. Father still won't train me for some weird reason, and he always looks scared for a bit when I ask. Yasha explains with a sigh, still trying even though it hurts every time she gets shooed out as if she's a dangerous beast. Peeved, their loss. Who won with the only sibling who got her dad's smarts? The sand tanuki boasts, a few small tendrils shooting out to tickle the girl while he starts meandering about. Maybe he'll find something that'll let his little sis proclaim that they're going on an adventure again. Nei Shu Ni. Remember when you said you wanted an awesome title? I think I got one. Yasha said after a few minutes of serene silence. Ya do? Let's hear it then. Was the gruff reply of the sand tanuki. How does Shukaku of the desert sound to ya? Fancy interval wanted for this position, will pay in virtual chocolate chip cookies. We wanted to use it earlier but it didn't seem to fit with a flashback sequence. Opening her eyes blearily, Naru looks around her room disoriented for a few moments while trying to figure out who she was right now in this day and age. So that was Yasha, eh? She says softly to herself, feeling much calmer than she has in a while now. Then again, her chakra is flowing freely now instead of being locked away, so that might have something to do with it. Stretching her arms with a yawn, the petite blonde climbs out of bed, changing out of her pajamas and into a tank top and a pair of comfy pants. Opening her door quietly, Naru trods downstairs as silent as a ghost while finding a strange sort of comfort in the tranquil shadows. After making herself a nice steaming cup of tea, the girl opens the glass sliding door that leads to the backyard, bare feet flexing for a moment as they touch the grass. Closing her eyes while taking a deep breath, the young heroine's brow furrows for a moment as she can feel something writhing underneath her feet. It feels familiar, maybe I can. Naru's thoughts are interrupted as suddenly the earth feels solid again, the flowing presence gone. Not yet, Naru-chan, we'll need to work on your chakra control a bit more before I let you interact with nature. Kagaya chides Naru, not wanting to lose her child just because she meddled with forces she wasn't ready for yet. Normally Naru would start shouting and arguing, but bits of the calming effect of nature chakra and Yasha's own gentle nature were still affecting her. Instead she asked a very simple question, when do we start then, Ka-chan? A few minutes later, more than enough time to finish her morning tea. The little girl is seated in a basic meditation pose with her legs crossed, eyes closed yet again and her attention turned inwards in order to locate her chakra once again. Listening to the instructions spoken by her Ka-chan in a soothing lilt, Naru quickly locates her chakra and lets it flow through her body, directing it to certain points and limbs when directed so by Kagaya. You're doing great, Naru-chan, now how about we try and reinforce your sight? Send a bit of chakra to your eyes and I'll guide you through the process. Nodding just the slightest amount with her head, Naru listens like the dutiful daughter she is, according to Kagaya anyways, and slowly trickles some chakra into her eyes, ignoring the slight burning feeling that her eyeballs give off since Ka-chan did mention the first few times might feel pretty wee shoulder grab at from somewhere, torn away from Ka-chan and chakrabad silence is back. No, push the bad tooch away. The awesome line break for the utterly retarded blonde chakra monsters. See, told you we would put it in. Kushina was humming happily as she prepared breakfast for her husband and children, enjoying the peace and quiet that will surely be broken in a few minutes when Mito will barge down those stairs while Hiruzen tries to calm her down and Naru will probably be lost again in her own little world. Kushina muses sadly as she puts the dishes on the table. She used to be so energetic and happy, being just as loud as Mito while vying for her attention when Minato wasn't here. And then suddenly about 2 years ago she seemed to get quieter as she builds walls around herself while drifting off into her own little wonderland. Sure, she still asked for training or to do something together, but for some strange reason she either got distracted by Mito, a mission suddenly popped up that required her expertise, or something happened that needed her immediate attention. And every time she faced her little sunshine afterwards, that expression seemed less hurt and more resigned. The walls around her erected even further and higher. How is it that Minato manages to be so close to her while busy as Hokage, while I seem to be drifting away from her further and further with every screw-up? Sure, Minato does his best to spend his time with all 3 of the kids, but he always seems to keep an eye on Naru whenever possible. Hell, even uses the old monkey's crystal ball when there is a lull in paperwork just to make sure their youngest daughter isn't in danger. Yo mom, what's on the table? Kushina hears from behind her. Turning around with a smile, Kushina looks at what could only be a blue-eyed carbon copy of her when she was 8 years old, plus whisker marks of course. Wearing a purple t-shirt with the uzumaki spiral on each sleeve and black pants, a cheekily grinning Uzumaki Mito is already sitting at the table, her feet propped up as she leans back casually without a care in the world. Yet before she could say something, a tired voice sounds from the hallway. Oi Mito, how many times do we have to tell ya not to put her feet on the table? A red-headed boy with Minato's spiky hair and blue eyes says while trying to hold back another yawn. Namikaze Hiruzen always did have an amusing accent when he isn't properly awake yet. Still, Kushina was happy that his facial structure leans more towards her. He wouldn't have been able to pull off the whisker marks as well as he did otherwise. Which has been verified thanks to Kushina drawing the same kind of whisker marks on her husband while he was napping on the couch. It just seems to fit her son as opposed to Minato. They just made the Hokage look silly for the rest of the day. Ah crap, her kids started bickering when she was lost in the memories of that day. Good prank indeed according to the Uzumaki matriarch. Both of you sit down properly before I make you databane. Kushina yells at the red-headed duo before looking around. And where's your sister? She already saw the teapot on the heating seal, which means that Naru is already awake, and her shoes are still at the front door so she has to be in the house. Mito just shrugs and grabs the teapot. Say what you want about her weirdo sister but she knows how to make some pretty fucking good tea. Hiruzen just opens an eye blearily before pointing at the open terrace door that leads to the garden before closing it again. Kushina just sighed fondly, her little boy could be such a Nara in the mornings. You guys dig in, I'll go and fetch Naru-chan. Kushina tells the two eldest while heading out. Looking around for a moment, the redhead finds her wayward daughter sitting underneath the large tree right next to the koi pond, meditating. Oh well, you learn something new each day. Frowning at her daughter as calling out to her doesn't seem to work, Kushina gets closer to Naru in order to shake her daughter out of her trance. She must have gotten it from Minato's side of the family. The Uzumaki matriarch grouches to herself, having a lot of experience with shaking her husband out of his focus and dragging him to the nearest source of food. Naru-chan, didn't you hear me? It's time fo. Kushina didn't to say much more as her daughter's eyes snap wide open and before she realized it, Kushina was sliding through the open terrace door while trying to understand what just happened. You know, if she wasn't hungry she just could have said so. Mito couldn't help but comment dryly, a piece of toast still hanging out of her mouth. The awesome line break for the utterly retarded blonde chakra monsters. We're even so grateful for Mystic Spider's contribution we couldn't help but use it twice. For as long as Naru could remember, she hated the silence. Always being told to wait as her mother and others fawned over her siblings whhe kyubi inside of them made her be as loud and obnoxious as possible just to get a bit of attention even if it was the bad kind. Anything just so that she wouldn't be alone with that damn suffocating silence that loomed over her every time she was forgotten. Daddy did try to spend as much time with her as possible but it wasn't enough, she was still left with the silence far too much. And then came Ka-chan. It was pretty weird for her to suddenly hear a little voice in her head teaching her new stuff, telling her to mind her manners or to pay attention to important lessons. In short, she became the mommy in her head that chased away the silence around her and showed the world to little Naru and all the amazing things in it. I'll drive away the silence whenever it's too much, Naru-chan. That's what she said, isn't it? Then why is Ka-chan gone now? Why isn't she here right now? Shouldn't she be scolding Naru right now for losing control of her chakra like that? Ka-chan wouldn't leave her to fend for herself in the silence. She promised that she would take care of Naru-chan until she could face the silence alone. Eid, Naru-chan, breathe, you're hyperventilating. The soothing lilt of Kaguya's voice breaks through her panic, slowly calming the little blonde down. After a few minutes Naru slowly got up, once again in complete control of herself. What happened, Ka-chan? She asked the mother in her head, a bit scared. You panicked when Kushina forced you out of the trance you were in while working on your chakra, shutting down completely while using Shinra Tensai to push her away. Kaguya answered, using the scraps of chakra she can still control to stop the chakra flow to her daughter's eyes to make them look their natural bloody red again. Go inside and get something to eat, Naru-chan. Take some time to collect yourself. The rabbit goddess orders Naru gently. Taking in a deep breath, the little blonde just nods and heads back inside where her siblings and mothers are looking at her worriedly. Hey, are you okay, Naru-chan? Kushina asks carefully. For some weird reason, the blonde doesn't like it so much when Kushina calls her Naru-chan. Still, she should answer. I'll be fine after I collect myself for a bit. She parrots Ka-chan. Kushina just nods and Naru joins the breakfast table. And if everyone made sure she ate and drank a little bit more than usual because she was still pale and fidgety, no one said anything about it. Fancy interval wanted for this position, will pay in virtual chocolate chip cookies. In all seriousness though, thank you Mystic Spider for your contribution. After breakfast, everyone took off to do their own things. Naru went back to her room to read a few messages that popped up during breakfast and was rather curious as to what they could be saying. Opening her message board, she notices one that was sent to her last night. Right, I created the chakra blast back there. Why does it already seem like it was so long ago? Chakra technique creation. Chakra blast base reward, plus 20 int. Chakra overload. 5 int chakra system rupturing. Minus 10 int, minus 25 chakra control. Total reward. Plus 5 int. Minus 25 chakra control. The little blonde couldn't help but gape at the screen. She got smarter by making new moves? That's so awesome. Still sucks about the penalties because she had to go to the hospital, but hey, she'll just be more careful next time. New perk unlocked. Disciple of the Rabbit Goddess. Having the progenitor of chakra as your teacher will most certainly pay off in all of your future endeavors. If you train hard enough, it just might be possible for you to use techniques related to your primary and secondary elemental affinities without any hand seals. You'll be the envy of many shinobi if you manage it, not to mention the potential party tricks. At this, Naru was gaping at the message screen. Sealless jutsus? Those are like really hard to do. Only her daddy can do one, and that's making the Rasengan. Even he doesn't know how to add his wind chakra to it. Or how to do a wind jutsu without any seals. Without any preamble, Naru starts cackling madly while stroking her hands, utterly delighted with the possibilities, and also making Hiruzen and Mito back away from her door slowly. Oh, she is going to be the biggest badass around here once she manages to master that skill. After letting her insanity out in a rather healthy way, laughing is good for you after all. Naru opens the last message utterly confused, having no clue whatsoever as to what it refers to. What's a tensegan? 31, 32, 33. Anko counted lazily while reading a magazine, her feet resting on the back of Naru, who was now busy doing push-ups on what was quickly becoming their usual training ground. During the week Naru's training has been properly kicked off. The two have also been experimenting with the gamer ability. One thing in particular being that Naru now has several things floating at all time in her view. In the upper left corner she can now at all times see her health and chakra bars, while in the upper right corner she now has a minimap taking up the upper right corner with a clock right below it. It's a basic RPG setup, but one that created a few blind spots that Naru had to get used to and fast. Anko and Magu do love exploiting them after all. Feeling said woman giving her a slight tap in the middle of her back with her heel, Naru picks up the pace again. Grumbling about stupid inigos who don't clean their sandals before putting them on people's backs, the little crimson-eyed heroine of our tale once again opened her status screen in order to break the monotony of this exercise. Uzumaki, Yasha, Naru LV 521st HP 520 520th chakra 3750 3750th. Express 350 500 strength equals 13 plus perception equals 21 plus endurance equals 49 plus. Charisma equals 3 plus intelligence equals 26 plus agility equals 56 plus. Luck equals 5 plus available stat points. 6 her AGI and end easily rose through the repeating of the first exercise Anko did with her, but after 5 continuous days of dodging Magu over and over there wasn't really much she could even after getting the related gold medal. So for the past 2 days they've been working mostly on Naru's strength and perception without touching any of the available skill points. Whereas increasing her strength is a simple matter of the proper exercises and hauling stuff around, perception is something that needs to be trained 24/7. Speaking of perception. YUOOUUUUUUUUUUTTTHH, huh. He's 6 minutes later than usual. Did he make his weights heavier? Naru asks herself as her slowly becoming intelligent brains are connecting the seemingly random information to a most fruitful plan indeed. Ignoring her teacher's surprised yelp as the little blonde jumps up, Naru grabs Anko by the collar of her coat and drags the T&I employee behind her to the usual spandex habitat, also known as Training Ground 19. Ow, hey, be more gentle you crazy girl, or better yet, steer away from the spandex, only a vile road of green bounciness awaits you there, Anko says a bit panicked, not wanting to see the little tyke become a guy clone. Even the snake mistress couldn't help but shudder at the mental image of Naru dressing up like a guy clone, complete with the haircut and eyebrows. Thankfully enough the image disappears with her little protege's next words. Can't, we kinda need his help to get some proper weights, Naru says while she keeps running and dragging Anko towards the fields of youthfulness. Hearing her inigo's rather confused, huh? The little blonde realizes not everyone can hear her train of thoughts like Ka-chan. Easy, the guy uses weights to train his body and speed by wearing them 24/7 and gets heavier ones whenever the others get too light. This not only helps him while training but actually trains his muscles while he goes throughout his day, helping you train a stat with a penalty more easily. Anko finishes the sentence, now grinning at how much smarter her pupil seemingly has become. No, it's more like she's finally applying herself. The girl already had street smarts, she just never had a reason to use them, and Kagaya was more worried with making sure her little Yasha was happy and actually mastered the basic necessities for going through life like reading, writing etc. Bursting through the foliage, the two females can see Maida Guy vibrating while doing a handstand. Wait, are those supposed to be push-ups? 8 undecillion 889 decillion 909 nonillion 192 octillion 939 septillion 598 sextillion 101 quintillion 102 quadrillion 103 trillion 105 billion 106,108,109 110. The man yells excited, doing the exercise so fast he's forced to skip a few numbers while counting out loud. Stretching his arms, the only Jonin to have a bounty on his head from the Fashionistas United League finally spots his two visitors who were patiently waiting, read that as, gawking like stupefied morons, for him to finish doing his warm-ups. Throwing a fabulous Colgate smile at them, the sublime green beast of Konoha can't help but wonder why a little waif of a girl is accompanying his old classmate. "Ah, Anko, it's always wonderful to see you. How can I help you?" he asks sincerely, the woman having his utmost respect to put up with everything thrown at her after Orochimaru's betrayal. Letting out an exasperated sigh, Anko easily slips out of her, still unofficial, apprentice's grasps and dusts her trench coat of while making plans to up the squirt's training. Nobody drags her coat through the mud and gets away with it. Oh well, letting her taijutsu training being handled by Guy should be a decent educational punishment. "Sup Guy, just wanted to see if you got any kind of training weights for the chibi I'm training." Anko asks with a wide smile, her left eye starting to twitch as Naru starts muttering things that suspiciously sound like, "shitty old hag." Still, the novice teacher shows admirable restraint for once as the Jonin with the thickest eyebrows and brightest smile is actually seriously thinking about her request. That single fact is already enough to make Anko squirm around rather nervously instead of bickering with her student. When Naru finally realizes that bushy brows is seemingly inspecting her, she grows quiet, not used to strangers inspecting her so intently. The only other one who kept gauging her instead of more famous siblings like that was some creepy-looking old dude named Danzo. "Sue, what you staring at?" the young blonde asks nervously, opening her mouth to simply break the awkward silence pertaining the training ground. Blinking a few times, Guy shows off his perfect white Colgate smile while getting into his good guy pose. "I would like for you to spar with me, young pupil," the spandex lover exclaims, barely even blinking at the floating screen that suddenly pops up in front of the red-eyed girl. New quest. Battle the sublime green beast of Konoha. Objective. Last 300 seconds optional. Land a hit. Optional. Last 480 seconds optional. Last 600 seconds. Rewards on quest completion. +3 taijutsu skill. Narrowing her eyes at the 33 question marks that hide the potentially awesome rewards for fulfilling the bonus objectives, Naru takes a moment to calm down. Opening her eyes again, her eyes are as filled with steel as an 8-year-old's can be. Anko, now genuinely fearing that her student could actually get hurt, tries to step in. "Oi Naru, I know you're excited to spar with a Jonin, but we barely started your training. Hell, we haven't even touched on taijutsu yet." Anko nearly barks out as she watches Naru get ready for her little suicide mission. "Do not worry Anko, it is only a friendly match to gauge her abilities and potential. If it will make you feel better, I shall treat this as an exercise to help your young charge determine what taijutsu styles fit her best." Guy tries to calm down the near-frantic woman. For him it was heartwarming that even though she wasn't a teacher for long, and boy did the rumor mills have a field day when that tidbit of information came out, she already seemingly bonded with her young charge and actually took her responsibilities towards the Hokage's daughter seriously. Anko struggles with the fact that she will let the young blonde actually spar with the foremost expert on taijutsu in the village before she even has had her first lesson in the subject. "If something happens to her, you're explaining it to the blondame." The Tokubetsu Jonin says resigned, jumping into a nearby tree in order to stay out of the way. Naru just sends her a grateful smile before she turns to Guy with an impressively neutral face. The man simply smiles and slips into his stance, as a countdown timer appears above them. As the man observes the young girl's shuffling, time slows down for Naru as Sean nudging her in a position with gentle prods. When that timer hits 0 Naru-chan, I want you to rush forwards and hit him a few times to see how he reacts. He's mostly gauging your skills so he will mainly remain on the defensive. That should give us plenty of opportunity to feel out his style. Giving her mother a mental nod to show that she heard her, Naru can already feel her chakra pumping through her body, the energy almost begging the little girl to wield it. Not yet, she thinks to herself as she weathers the incessant thrum underneath her skin. Wait until the time is right. At this, the energy calms down yet makes sure its young wielder can feel the presence. The moment the counter hits 0 Naru bursts forward, the young girl intent to hit her adversary with all that she has. Guy still has more than enough time to slip into the Goken stance, but Naru doesn't care about that as Yasha already knows where to hit. Letting herself drop at the last moment, Yasha slides across the grass with her legs stretched out. Guy jumps up to avoid the low kick, blindsided as the young blonde propels herself after him with a burst of chakra originating from her hands. Out of reflex, the man grabs the girl by the leg and throws her away while making sure that she won't be hurt too much. That was unexpected, to think that she could already control her chakra to that extent. The green beast thinks to himself, landing on his feet as he simply waits for the Hokage's daughter to attack again. As Yasha gets up, Guy can see the absolute focus in those scarlet eyes that nearly border on the mental equivalent of tunnel vision. Once again running towards her enemy, Naru cocks back her arm to ready a punch. Taking a wide swing, the young combatant overextends and Guy takes advantage of it, tripping the imbalanced girl. You must Maya. Guy starts to lecture the young girl, only to be forced to step back as some kind of force impacts him. Looking down at the now smirking girl, Guy manages to get over his surprise as he laughs heartily. Well done, young one, using that fall to fire off a burst of chakra through your feet with a mule kick is quite ingenious. The taijutsu expert compliments her young charge before he gets serious once again. But I wonder, just how long can you keep up throwing your reserves around like that? As he already expected, Yasha didn't answer him and merely slides into what could generously be called a sloppy stance. Guy merely shows off his pearly white teeth once again in response. That is it. Let the flames of youth power you as you plow through the walls ahead of you. He shouts out before making the universal, "Come at me, bro," gesture. And from that moment on, Anko can only watch rather impressed from the tree branch she is sitting on as her young apprentice keeps going after the walking fashion disaster. The uzumaki stubbornness she inherited from Kushina working in tandem with Minato's analytical skill that made him so well versed in fuinjutsu. Strategies and combos were barely used twice, and if they were then it was usually with a purpose. Neither missed the white flower pattern in those scarlet orbs that are blazing in the blonde's eyes as she stays down a few seconds longer than before. Fatigue obviously getting to her as she has been giving it her all from the get-go. Any other kid her age would have collapsed or given up already. She truly will be a force to be recognized one day if she keeps up this kind of dedication. Getting up with a struggle, the panting girl shakily sways as she gets in a hunched forward position as a hand clutches at her abdomen. Maybe we should stop, you're obviously hurting, Guy says with a hint of remorse in his voice. He had kept his skill level to mid-genin and still an 8-year-old without any training managed to last pretty long, especially with all those bursts of chakra she kept throwing around. Like hell I am, they're already so far ahead of me. How can I look him in the eye if I don't make an effort? Naru screams in frustration. Asura and Indra, Hiruzen and Mito, they all left their sister behind as they walked their own paths, selfishly telling them that they did it for Yasha. He may not have gotten that far yet with the Uzumaki siblings, but history once again started repeating itself. All the signs were there. And Naru did not want to make the same mistake Yasha did, waiting long enough due to delusional hope as the gap becomes too big to cross. Sighing in resignation, Guy takes up his stance for one last time. At this point he will just knock the girl so that she can rest her body. Anybody else watching would attest that she deserved it. Baring her teeth, the little blonde lets out a rather animalistic growl as she charges towards the Jonin on last time. Her legs are burning from fatigue and the chakra used to reinforce it while her arm is shaking. Jumping in the air so that the sun is in her back, the hand holding her abdomen lets go to reveal the kunai she picked up on the field. With a yell of sheer defiance, the kunai is slashed down and an arc of chakra is released out of it not even 2 feet away from Guy's. Naru won't know if the attack hit until she wakes up, that last strike truly having taken the last of reserves. Naru Yasha Nyaru Yarusha Yasha Naru 928 seconds. That's how long little Naru lasted, that crescent wave of energy the size of the girl even managing to leave a nick on Guy's shoulder. Walking through the streets of Konoha with her sleeping apprentice on her back, Anko for once doesn't react to the looks and barbs sent her way. Instead she focuses her attention on making sure that the little blonde sleeping on her back won't be woken up due to external impulses. Did I do it? A small, wavering voice asks Anko, sounding as if the wrong answer could crush her. You didn't just do it, kid, you curb-stomped every objective you set out to do. Not bad for a brat with barely any training. The purplinette says, her usual tone replaced with genuine affection lacing her every word. Though he did stay at a mid-genin level skills mostly, so you still have a long way to go, you shitty brat. She adds as her normal teasing lilt returns to her voice. I know, it'll be a while before I actually catch up. Naru says tiredly, though both know that there is a smile now. And even on her deathbed decades from now, Mitarashi Anko has no idea what compelled her to be so bloody mushy. The only thing she knows is that what she promised next helped reshape the elemental nations. Be it Mito or Hiruzen, Asura or Indra, the Hokage or even the Rikudo Sennin, I'll be with you till the end of the line, I promise. Anko silently promises, making sure that in the hustle and bustle of the village, only the two of them could hear and be aware of the promise. After all, this is nothing for shitty outsiders to stick their noses in. Thank you, Nei-chan, is the barely caught response as Naru falls asleep again, this time with a peaceful, content smile on her face. One mirrored on Anko's face as she takes the little tyke home. And if her current facial expression scares the crap out of the village, well, let's just call it a double win for the dango-loving teacher. The most youthful line break for spandex-wearing taijutsu enthusiasts. Maida Guy is a man that has seen and done a lot, quite a bit of which he isn't exactly proud of. Then again, that could be easily said for a lot of the ninja in this world, and the higher your rank, the more the statement holds true. Still, his current bout of melancholic nostalgia was brought along by the lesson he tried to teach the Hokage's daughter. The same one his father tried to teach him in the same way when he wasn't that much older. There is no shame in admitting that there are those stronger than you. If you can't beat them now, retreat and train until the one who was your superior will be your equal. That little pearl of wisdom was imparted onto him as he tried to beat his father every day for weeks at a time, much in the same way Yasha did. He oh so desperately wanted to prove himself after Hitaki and the Shinobi Academy based on his potential as a taijutsu specialist. Where everyone else could use ninjutsu or genjutsu, he had only his fists and his feet, so of course he trained harder than almost anyone. Just to prove everyone that he could be their comrade and walk proudly at their side, protecting and serving the Leaf during the war. Like hell I am, they're already so far ahead of me. How can I look him in the eye if I don't make an effort? Even now those words echo through his head, resonating with the resolve and promise his own fists held so long ago. I do not doubt that soon enough you will not only be at their side, you will be running ahead to give them the same motivation. Guy thinks fondly to himself as he passes the academy, recounting the fleeting memories of this place that he still has. He can even see himself there pounding away at the training dummies. Hiya, oh wait, that is an actual child still practicing his taijutsu with zeal. Watching the child train zealously for a few more minutes, Maida Guy jumps over the wall and walks towards the kid to give him a few pointers. In another world, Rock Lee and Maida Guy would not have met until he became Team 9's Genin Sensei. But here and now, they met earlier than expected and started to form without a doubt the most youthful relationship between sensei and pupil this world has seen since the founding of the Hadin villages. Even if it did happen a few years ahead of schedule.